Good day, everyone. Welcome to today's Proudly SA and CIPC Compliance webinar. CETFA is also joining us for the webinar. Proudly SA and the Companies and Intellectual Property Commission, or CIPC, have made a dual effort in organizing a much-needed compliance webinar to address the prevailing problems experienced in compliance. To set the tone for the webinar, I will give a short overview of compliance before we start with our presentations. Compliance is the process of ensuring that a business adheres to applicable laws and regulations. In a world where economic conditions are constantly fluctuating and regulatory frameworks are expanding, compliance is a critical element of corporate governance and risk management. Operating a successful business in South Africa requires strict attention to compliance with local news and regulations. Business compliance includes many areas of compliance. To name a few, it includes things like the filing of annual returns and beneficial ownership information with CIPC, adhering to tax regulations enforced by the South African Revenue Services, complying with labor legislation to safeguard employee rights, complying to health and safety laws to protect their employees and customers, and complying with the Customer Protection, or rather Consumer Protection Act to shield customers from unethical and deceptive business practices. But there's also many more. Today, we will focus on CIPC annual return compliance and related issues. From a companies and intellectual property perspective, although company registration is easy and simplified, most companies, especially your micro and small companies, do not comply with basic provisions of a Companies Act, namely, specifically, the filing of annual returns, updating address changes, and updating of director changes. As a result, the CIPC is continuing the automated referral of non-compliant companies and closed corporations for deregistration due to outstanding annual returns and beneficial ownership filings. A bulk deregistration process was implemented, with final deregistrations occurring. This initiative supports the CIPC's mandate to maintain an accurate register of companies and align with South Africa's efforts to exit the grey list. The high volume of deregistrations is primarily due to the failure of businesses to prioritize timely compliance with the Companies Act. Business owners are urged to update their contact details with CIPC and ensure direct receipt of compliance notifications. Deregistrations have serious consequences, including personal liability for directors, frozen bank accounts, refusals of services, and non-recognition by creditors. Business compliance also contributes to the economy. To name a few, compliance ensures that all businesses operate under the same rules, preventing unfair advantages. This offers healthy competition, ensuring innovation and efficiency. It builds customer trust, and consumers are more likely to spend money at such businesses, which derive economic growth. It leads to investor confidence as investments are protected, which encourages local and foreign investment. It also reduces the risk of economic disruption, for instance, avoiding legal battles and financial crises that can destabilize the economy. It generates government revenue, which funds government services, which in turn supports broader economic development. Businesses that meet legal standards are better positioned to trade globally, opening new markets and economic opportunities. Business compliance with the CIPC plays a critical role in improving both the economic outlook for individual businesses and the broader national economy. By enhancing business credibility and investor confidence, it facilitates access to finance and markets. It promotes economic formalization and tax returns. It supports job creation and economic growth. It strengthens legal and regulatory frameworks, and it improves the national economic indicators. Then I'm going to start with our presentations. Our webinar will consist of 3 presentations, followed by a question and answer session. Attendees are most welcome to send questions on the chat box. We will respond to these after the session. Our first presentation will be on CIPC annual returns, deregistrations, and reinstatements. Our presenter will be Ms. Shani Kelly. Ms. Kelly is performing the duties of a education specialist at the Corporate Education and Compliance Unit of a CIPC since 2013. She had started a career with the Department of Trade and Industry in April 2002. She has traveled throughout South Africa, educating existing and upcoming SMEs and entrepreneurs on CIPC corporate governance and compliance, as well as company and cooperative registration. Since the COVID pandemic, she had diverged into online webinars promoting CIPC virtual services. She had further enhanced the career path by representing CIPC at events hosted by the Deputy Minister of the DTIC. Shani, you can please continue with your presentation. Thank you.
Thank you, Elma, for that introduction. I am going to share my presentation with you. Okay, my presentation is visible. Okay.
We can see it, Shani.
Great. I'm just going to quickly put off my camera so that...
We perhaps just also put it for us on slideshow that it's a bit bigger.
I'm trying to do that.
Yeah.
Okay.
Right now.
Okay. Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to another webinar on compliance and of CIPC. Okay. So, what is annual returns? Think of annual returns as an annual renewal for your business to conduct business, but this is not a legal description. Annual returns is the annual filing of information with the CIPC to confirm the latest information of the company or the CC as at the date of filing. You need to check that the corporate information example, the directors, the auditors, the address of the business, the financial year end, and the company's name is up to date. Check the financial records keeping and the financial information on the companies and the CCs. This is the AFS or FAS. Now, the AFS means your accountability financial supplement. Accounting financial statements, and the FAS is your financial accountability supplement. So it's your annual financial statements and your financial accountability supplement. I will be referring to this abbreviation in my presentation. The level of compliance with the Companies Act, you need to check your beneficial ownership is up to date. The annual the operational information example, the number of employees, the active or dormant employees or directors, as well as the main business activity and we're conducting business. All the above to help CIPC to execute its various functions and objectives. Annual returns must be filed once a year. Hence the name annually. When a company is 30 business days from the date after its anniversary date, and for the CC, which is the closed corporation, from the first date of its anniversary month until the end of the month thereafter, even if a company is dormant or not conducting business. Will I be reminded by CIPC? Yes. CIPC will issue annual returns and reminders to all active directors or members at the beginning of the month. The annual returns becomes due for filing. Due to the volume and efficiency of issuing reminders, it is issued electronically only, hence via your cell phone or email. Provided the CIPC has your correct contact details of that of the directors or members. Other matters to be filed with annual returns or on an annual basis. To make it easier for companies and CCs to comply with other requirements, the Act requires additional services to be filed with the annual returns. This is your AFS or FAS, your compliance checklist, your beneficial ownership. In future annual returns filings, you will be able to update your corporate information while filing your annual returns. Isn't that amazing? Now, your annual returns fees. Filing comes with a fee based on your turnover of the company. CIPC does not give funding for the national, get funding from the national vote. Certain filings with the CIPC carries a statutory fee, including annual returns. Fee is not negotiable and or payable in installments. CIPC may not waive or reduce its fees other than what is stated in the Companies Act or other acts under its administration. As a government institution, CIPC must adhere to the PFMA and must collect all fees due to it, failure of which the CIPC may receive a qualified audit. Filing information plus payment will equal the completed filing. Okay, why penalty fee? If filing occurs late, a penalty fee is applicable. Penalty fees in general is a tool to ensure timeous compliance. Therefore, the bigger the company, the higher the penalty fee value. Will CIPC remind me? Yes, provided that CIPC has your correct contact details. Emails to all active directors or members, SMSs to all active directors or members, and emails will contain the links on how to comply. So we are going to provide you on the links. Filing options. Only electronic filing options are available through the following platforms. BIS portal, this is the quickest and paperless option. E-services, this is for intermediaries and self-service centers. Our mobile app, as well as, please note, no manual filing is done for annual returns. Now, why is it important for CIPC to have your correct information? CIPC is the custodian of all registered corporate entities in South Africa. CIPC is the source registry of this information. Public and government uses CIPC information to make decisions. Example, governments want to know the size and status of an NPC sector. How many external companies are investing in South Africa? Is a specific company compliant in order to do business with? That means, is it legitimate? Who may contract on behalf of the company? Where do I find the business to do business with? As well as it is important to know that it is critical for CIPC to be up to date with all the above information. CIPC's mandate to keep an up-to-date and effective register of all companies, closed corporations, and cooperatives. This also means that companies and closed corporation who is not doing business should be removed from the register. Can always be reinstated if it had economic value at the time of final deregistration registration function. Inactive companies or CCs that have not been fully deregistered is at risk for being used for fraud, money laundering, or terror financing. Ensuring a reputable corporate environment by increasing compliance with the Companies Act. Promoting a reputable and predictable business environment in South Africa, promoting investment opportunities. This is our regularity function. Why is it important for CIPC to have the correct information? CIPC's information is also combined with various other sources by other private and government organizations. WINDID, this is the combined CIPC's corporate and directory information with immovable properties, banks, to determine the risk profile of the companies and closed corporation, and to make sure they know with whom they are doing business. SARS, to know how many prospective corporate taxpayers there are. CIPC's information is used during civil and criminal investigation. CIPC even uses its own data to take companies to court for non-compliance with the Act, director misconduct as well. Deregistration as consequences of non-compliance with annual returns. 2 or more years successive annual returns outstanding. Systematically, your company is placed in deregistration. However, you can still file your annual returns. Deregistration status is a risk indicator that companies or CCs may be coming to an end. Banks, service providers, or customers may require the company or CC to file annual returns for them to do business. Continued non-compliance will result in final deregistration. Consequences of deregistration. Company or CC as a registered business cease to exist. This means that it loses benefits of being a registered company, but perpetual existence and limited liabilities. Directors can be held personally liable for all debts. The bank may freeze your bank account. Service providers may stop doing business with you, and creditors may even refuse to pay you until you reinstall your business. CIPC is clearing the registry of dormant and inactive companies and CCs. Annual returns deregistration process. Can a company file annual returns up to final deregistration? Thereafter, the system will block you. Referral for annual returns deregistration and the issue of a core 40.3 form. After 20 business days, CIPC will issue a core 40.4 form. Thereafter, 20 business days or longer as needed for banks and SARS. Referral for final deregistration and the issue of final deregistration letter will be done. These letters can be downloaded or the letters via the e-services or BIS platform. 6 months later, from date of final deregistration, a paper-based disclosure since the disclosure fee is payable. The business name becomes available for other customers to reserve or use. Download of the letters. How to access the deregistration letter. Now, if referred to AR deregistration from September 2024, letters can be downloaded from e-services and the BIS portal platform, provided that the active director or member at the time of deregistration use the ID number associated with the customer code to determine whether the letters are available. 6 months from final deregistration is free of charge. Otherwise, a disclosure request and this needs to be paid for. Service providers and third parties will not have access or obtain letters free of charge. Disclosure request and this needs to be paid for. Now, final deregistration. How to determine your status on BIS profile. You can go to the BIS portal platform on www.bisportal.gov.za, log in, and then go click on the BIS profile icon. Final deregistrations. January 2024, over 1.7 million companies were non-compliant and resulted in final deregistration. February 2025, over 700,000 companies were deregistered, and final deregistration from September 2024 is automated, and final deregistration will depend on the date they were referred for AR deregistration. Companies and closed corporations only, not cooperatives. If you did not receive the core 40.3, the core 40.4, and or your final deregistration notice, the reason is because the contact details of the directors or members are outdated. Use contact details of the service provider. So when the company was being registered, the service provider's details was used instead of that of the directors. How to update contact details of directors and members to receive notices in future. You need to do a director or a member amendment. Directors must provide their own contact details and not the details of the service provider or of their secretaries or PAs. Now I'm going to go on to reinstatement. Reinstatement requirements. Now, reinstatement is done after your company has been final deregistration. You must reinstate your company only if it has economic value on the date of final deregistration. CIPC can call for evidence to support at any time after processing the application. Example of the evidence in which we require will be bank statements. This is the most common evidence that you can use. IP rights, that means your trademarks, extract from the trademark registry. Shares, letters or notifications from the issuer of the shares that the company or CC holds shares. Outstanding liabilities, example, letter or notification from SARS that credits or rebates or even outstanding tax liabilities. Lease agreements. Please note that this must indicate the company as a party, and one of the parties must be the company or the CC, and it must not be an expired lease in agreement. Assets of the company, the car, the financial statement of the value of the car, or the confirmatory letter or notice from the Department of Transport that the asset or the vehicle belongs to the company. Now, who may apply for reinstatement? According to Section 82, subsection 4 of the Companies Act, any interested party may apply to reinstate a company or CC. Only companies or CCs or its duly appointed representative may file the annual returns, file beneficial ownership declaration or the security register, file AFS or FAS, and third parties do not have such information available, hence they cannot complete the reinstatement process since all the annual returns and other documents must be submitted to complete the process. Third parties, however, may apply to the courts. The reinstatement steps. These are the 7 steps in which you need to follow before and after reinstatements. Now, step 1, determine the status of your company. Is your company in AR final deregistration? Step 2, assessment as to the economic value at the time of final deregistration. Step 3, source all the required documentation and information for reinstatement, annual returns, your AFS or FAS, and for beneficial ownership. Step 4, deposit funds. The cost of reinstatement is 200 Rand, and this must reflect on your customer code before you send your email application to have your company reinstated. Step 5, submit application and all supporting documentation as a single email to reinstatement@cipc.co.za. Note the email address is re-instatements@cipc.co.za. This email must have all the attachments in a PDF format. Step 6, submit and pay or file all outstanding annual returns, the latest AFS or FAS, and your BO, your beneficial ownership. Step 7, please ensure that all the directors' addresses, contact numbers, and email addresses are updated. Source all the required documentation. Now, I'm referring you back to step 3. An originally completed form, Core 40.5, or a letter of similar content needs to be attached. The form can be downloaded from the CIPC website. The customer code needs to be indicated on the Core 40.5 form. If you do not have a customer, if you are not registered as a customer, use the following link on BIS portal to be registered. If you registered your code, deposit the required funds in the CIPC bank account. The banking details can be found on the CIPC website. The mandate from the application on whose behalf the application is being submitted. This must be attached and signed. Sufficient funds in the customer code to process the application. A reinstatement application carries a 200 Rand statutory fee. Deposit the funds, and once the deposit is reflected in your customer code, email the entire application. Certified ID copy of all active directors or members. Alternatively, if the director or the member is deceased, you will need the executor letter and the certified copy of the executor. Certified ID copy of the applicant, the owner of the customer code. Certification must not be older than 3 months, and the commissioner of oath must be clearly identifiable, traceable, and his designation needs to be visible. Now, please remember, you do not have to submit the evidence of economic value or in time of the business being final deregistration. However, CIPC may at some point request this information. I have went through all the possible evidence which you can submit. Court orders for reinstatement must be emailed to corporate legal services at cipc.co.za for service and referral purpose. It's important to note, please advise that court orders must also mandate the company or the CC to bring all obligations up to date within a time period, failure of which the company or CC will be placed back into annual returns deregistration for non-compliance. Okay, a little bit of general information. Incidental matters on BIS portal. Clients, company or CC that does not reflect on the BIS portal. Only companies and CCs for which the customer is an active director or member will be displayed. BIS portal is not designed for intermediaries. They need to use the e-services. When my company or CC does not reflect on BIS portal, only active directors and members will reflect. Check the BIS profile to confirm that if you are an active director or a member. My previous filing does not reflect. Only if previous annual returns were filed and paid for will it be reflected. If filed during enhanced e-services, it may be that your data did not sync correctly with the database. If this is the case, please log a ticket for assistance. Incidental matters. Filing confirmation. Please check on your spam and on your junk filters for the email. Check with your internet service provider that CIPC's email is not being blocked. Check that your email address on your customer profile is correct, and reprint your certificate. If all the above is correct and you still did not receive your confirmation, please log a ticket via the CIPC inquiries email address. When you file a wrong turnover, log a fault with the AR unit to prepare and submit to finance for credit and for a debit note. If you cannot file due to ID verification error, the Financial Accountability Supplement has been linked from the Department of Home Affairs real-time validation. If you cannot file since my client or accountant has not complete the AFS, file must use the previous approved AFS information. For informations, log a ticket under the financial statements. Okay. The names of your company becomes available immediately for another person to reserve or use when your company is final deregistered. Deposit money or money in your customer account when you're being finally deregistered is available. You can use the funds for the reinstatement process. You can use the funds to register a new company, or you can request a refund. A refund is requested from revenues at cipc.co.za. Proof of the deposit, stamp confirmation of the bank account, and the certified ID copy of the owner of the customer code must be attached. Please ensure that your card is 3D secure when you're using the CIPC card facilities. These are screenshots of the CIPC's website page. You have the icons in which you can click on to use to enter into the sites. We have on my right-hand side, we have our banking details that's available. We have frequently asked questions. We have the forms and the fees that is available, as well as previous webinars that have been recorded. Important in notices of CIPCs is also on the CIPC website, and that's important that you keep up to date with all these notices. Now, this is a screenshot of the BIS portal platform. If you have a customer code and password, you can log in. If you do not have one, please use the registered icon and register yourself a customer code. You can follow us on the following social media platforms for all CIPC's latest updated information. We have a Facebook page, Instagram, Threads, LinkedIn, YouTube, and X. So all these various social media platforms can be followed by SMMEs. Now, my last remarks are how to avoid deregistration and reinstatement. Only register a company when you have a reason and access to support. Schedule or diarize compliance with annual returns. Follow CIPC on any of its social media platforms. Ensure that the correct contact details to get reminders to file and deregister notifications, as well as please attend and complete the Learn IBIS course. Now, the Learn IBIS is an online training program or course for directors. It is important that the directors are aware of their responsibilities. These are the various SMME support centers where you can get assistance from should you require any financial or administration support. A little bit more of them. Thank you very much for this opportunity. Alma, I'm handing you over.
Thank you very much, Shani. Before introducing our next speaker, who will be from Proudly SA, I just want to give a little bit of background on Proudly SA. Proudly SA was established in 2001, born out of a 1998 presidential job summit, which was convened by the late former President Nelson Mandela. The country's official Buy Local advocacy campaign is aligned with the government's objective of combating the triple challenge of poverty, inequity, and above all, unemployment. Proudly SA is a membership-based organization, and only companies that have been audited and approved are entitled to carry the logo, which is a sign that a product or service meets local content thresholds and above all quality standards. Proudly SA works with the public and private sectors to promote increased levels of local procurement through supply chain structures and with customers to change habits of everyday store and online purchases. Proudly SA Clarion call is buy local to create jobs. With that, I'm going to introduce our speaker, who is Ms. Alicia Logan. She is the Proudly SA Membership Manager. She's a seasoned strategic manager with a background in marketing research and sales tracking. Ms. Logan Niffen has extensive experience in sales tracking, blue chip, and OEM sectors. She spent almost a decade tracking consumer behavior, understanding supply chain operations, and analyzing till point data. He has a bachelor's degree in media and marketing research with postgraduate honors degree credits in the same discipline. She's currently pursuing an MBA with an emphasis on marketing landscape in Southern Africa. She joined the Proudly SA as a membership manager in November 2020. Alicia, you can please put on your camera that people can just see how you look like, and then start with your presentation. Thank you very much.
Alma, thank you so much for that very warm welcome. Good day, everybody. As Alma alluded, I am Alicia Logan. I head up the membership department at Proudly South African. In keeping with today's webinar and the theme of compliance and business compliance, I would like to take you through the compliance component of membership at Proudly South African. Let me just share my screen. All right. So Proudly South African is a membership-based campaign, and the campaign is a national advocacy buy local campaign. So the importance of what we do is that we are literally on country duty, and we are asking South Africans, whether it be a procurement manager in the private sector, a procurement manager in the public sector, the general consumer, we are asking you to make a local purchasing decision in order to create much needed jobs in the South African economy. Now, in order for us to advocate for your business, it is very important that we make sure. Okay, so it's very important that we take you through a vetting compliance process. It is important for Proudly South African to advocate for companies that are aligned to localization and aligned to quality products and services. Sorry, I'm just going to reshare my presentation. All right. Okay, so in terms of the vetting process, our compliance process is, guided by 4 key principles. That is local content, quality, environmental standards, and fair labor practices. In keeping with, the Buy Local advocacy campaign, it is so important that in order for Proudly South African to advocate for your business, we need to make sure that a company, whether you're a company in the service sector or whether you're a company in the manufacturing sector, that you abide by the local content requirements. Of course, we would like for companies to have 100% local content, but we are cognizant of the fact that that is not always possible because, not all raw material for various products can be found in South Africa. So in this case, we say either 100% of the product or service must be made within the borders of South Africa, or if there's no raw materials in South Africa for a certain manufacturing of product, then we allow for 50% or more of that product to be manufactured, in South Africa. Please be cognizant of the fact that if you import a product from any part of the world and you bring it here in South Africa and then you repackage it, that is not local content. That is repackaging an international product. So we are insistent that 50% or more of your product must be manufactured within the borders of South Africa. And the very reason for that is that one cannot claim to create jobs without creating, opportunities within the manufacturing concern. So local content is a non-negotiable, and we are absolutely adamant that companies be vetted accurately for local content. Quality, if you look at your screen, you can see the proudly South African logo, depends on which side you're sitting, but it's on the left side of the screen. The proudly South African logo is a registered trademark, and this registered trademark confirms local content and denotes quality. So we cannot advocate for a company or impart the logo to any business without doing quality, going through the quality vetting process. A business, a product, or a service must have gone through the relevant testing process or have ISO certification to confirm quality. Environmental standards. Look, we live in South Africa. We are one of the richest countries in natural resources, but we don't have a reserve of resources that will never deplete. So we are very cognizant of the fact that, yes, there are these resources, but environmental policies must be in place so that a circular economy is achieved. We want to know that what you take out of the environment, you are putting back. So environmental policies is also quite an important aspect of the vetting process. Fair labor practices, we need to know that, our tagline is buy local to create jobs. So wherever Proudly South African creates jobs, whether directly or indirectly, we want to make sure that those jobs are created in environments that abide by the fair labor practices of South Africa. So these 4 vetting criteria are what we are guided by in order to onboard a company onto our database as a Proudly South African member. But it doesn't just stop here. The supporting documentations required are CIPC registration document. We need to know that you are a registered entity in the Republic of South Africa. So the CIPC document is absolutely mandatory. We need your VAT registration document. We need your tax clearance certificate. We need your company profile, and we need your HR policy. So in terms of your HR policies, this will be a guide showing us that you actually abide by the fair labor practices of South Africa. CIPC document will tell us that you are legally registered in South Africa. That registration will help us because we are an access to market, Proudly South African offers member companies access to market opportunities. So if we had to, provide you with benefits to access the retail market, the wholesale market, or the B2B market, even online, e-commerce markets, it is almost always necessary that you must be CIPC registered and VAT registered. So those are the additional documentation that is required. And together with the 4 vetting criteria and the supporting documents, you then become compliant and eligible for membership. Now, if we had to go into a deep dive, because just yesterday I had a meeting with someone that said, you are an advocacy campaign. I don't see why you would need my business documents. You're not really doing business with me. You are advocating on my behalf. All well and good, but in terms of the member benefits, Some of the member benefits, if we had to look at it, we allow you to use the logo on your product, on your service, on your marketing collateral. And this product is confirming local content. It's allowing one to understand that the quality measures has been adhered to. Secondly, one of the benefits is access to markets in terms of tender opportunities. Now, if we allow you to first-hand, opportunity at the tenders that are sent out to yourself. We also are aligned with the central supplier database. So we are a partner to the CSD. And in order, if you are a proudly South African member, then you stand out to procurement officials on the central supplier database. Now, if they were to choose you as a proudly South African member to do business with, and you do not have a CIPC registration document, or you do not have a VAT registration document, most likely you will not be eligible for those tenders. So it is absolutely important that, aside from the vetting process, that the supporting documents is in place for membership. Also, we have benefits like e-commerce. We've just launched our own e-commerce store, and we have partners. We've partnered with e-commerce suppliers, some of them the largest e-commerce platforms in the country, be it Zulzi, Macro Marketplace, Takealot, Maber Artisan, and BizMed, just to name a few. And again, if we had to get you listed on these sites, you need to be CIPC registered. You need to have a VAT registration document. You need to have a company profile. And then the use of the logo on your product, your product needs to make sure that it's passed the quality testing process. So very important that compliance to be a member is absolutely necessary. Proudly South African has a multitude of benefits within our benefits portfolio. And in order to make sure that you receive all of the benefits and gain some of the greatest access to market opportunities, we absolutely need you to be compliant. And so I say once again, you need to be compliant with local content, quality, environmental standards, labor, HR policy, company profile, CIPC registration, and VAT registration. If all those documents are in order, the process is very quick, and membership can even be qualified within 24 hours. And also very important to note is that, tax clearance is also important, because in order for you to be registered into retail, wholesale, and even become a vendor, within corporate, that is a requirement for payment and for purchase order creation. So all of that must be in order, and you must be compliant. You can't be, being at the process of being deregistered on CIPC, your VAT is not paid up, your tax is not paid up, and all non-compliance will eventually get you into a predicament that you don't want to be in, especially when it's when you have the opportunity to access key markets in order to grow your business. So that, in a nutshell, is the compliance from Proudly South African side. If you have any questions at all, I'll put my email address in the chat box, and you're most welcome to contact me. Thank you so much. Over to you, Elma.
Thank you very much, Alicia. We're going to move on to our last presentation, which is by the Small Enterprise Development and Finance Agency. Our presenter will speak about business talk offerings that focus on clients who want information on starting a business. Business Start, which provides tools and techniques for clients who are ready to start a business and want assistance and direction. Also, Business Build offerings, which focuses on clients who want skills to sustain and strengthen their businesses. as well as Business Grow, which provides offerings focusing on clients who want to grow their businesses and expand nationally and internationally. CIPC's presenter is Mr. McDonald Mpaglele. He's a cadet business practitioner at CIPC. Mr. Mpaglele is currently serving as this cadet business practitioner. In Tshwane, his role provides business advisory services and support to micro and small enterprises. He conducts business diagnostics and facilitates growth strategies to improve client performance. Prior to joining CIPC, he gained experience as a business trainee manager at Water Hygiene Convenience, trainee store manager at Clicks Retail, and as a legal secretary at Maribe Attorneys, which he, of course, assisted him to build a strong foundation in both business operations and legal processes. Mr. Mpaglele, you're welcome to put on your camera and introduce yourself and start with your presentation. Thank you very much.
Thank you, the facilitator. Good day, everyone. My name is McDonald. As mentioned, I am working for Small Enterprise Development and Finance Agency. Without any further ado, let me just share the presentation regarding the organization's service provision. Is everyone seeing the presentation?
I can't see it yet. There, yes, there we can. Thank you.
If you see it, I'm assuming everyone else does.
I trust so, yes.
Okay. Let me just move this so that it doesn't block my view. As of the 1st of October, CIPC commenced its operation. This new entity formed when CIPC Small Enterprise Finance Agency, CEDA Small Enterprise Development Agency, and the Cooperative Banks Development Agency, CBDA, officially merged to create the newly organization called the Small Enterprise Development and Finance Agency under the National Small Enterprise Amendment Act of 2024. The significant development creates a unified institution dedicated to supporting the growth and development of micro, small, and medium enterprise across South Africa. This step is in response to the National Small Enterprise Amendment Bill signed by the President on 23 July 2024. CIPC is incorporated as a state-owned company under Small Enterprise Development and Finance Agency, SOC Limited, with the state as the sole shareholder. The agency operates through its board and adheres to the Public Finance Management Act and the Companies Act. The mission is to promote entrepreneurship and develop small enterprises by providing customized non-financial and financial business support services that result in business growth and sustainability in collaboration with other role players. The goal is to ensure that the small enterprise sector grows and increase its contribution to sustainable and equitable social and economic development, including wealth creation. The objective is to design and implement development support programs for small businesses, to promote a service delivery network that increases the contribution of small enterprises to the South African economy and enhance economic growth, job creation, and equity for historically disadvantaged communities. To support, promote, and develop cooperative banks and cooperative financial institutions, and to generally strengthen the capacity of service providers to support small enterprises and small enterprises to compete successfully domestically and internationally. As mentioned by the facilitator, the offerings that I'm going to share with the attendees and the panelists, it is through CITFA Business Talk, Business Start, Business Build, and Business Growth. When coming to CITFA, we are assisting small enterprises. When we are assisting small enterprises, we assist them through various stages of their life cycles, be it that you have an idea that you want to turn into a business, be it that you have a dormant business that's not operational, or you're having business that's operational. We are in a position to assist you. You don't have to be a business that's operating. Even if you have an idea, we are able to assist you to develop that idea and make it fruitful and operational. When we are talking about business talk, our offerings focuses on clients who want information on starting a business. The assistant provided will be the business advices and the information through that the business talk, the small enterprise training, the business registration. And then again, we have a business stats where we provide tools and techniques for clients who are ready to start a business and want assistance and direction. And the assistance provided will be the business planning, business counseling, facilitation of access to finance, business support, and other related that I'm just mentioning few, not all of them. And then again, we have the business build. This is where the offerings focuses on clients who want skills to sustain and strengthen their businesses. The assistance provided will be the capacity building systems, the mentorship, tender advice and/or procurement, export readiness, franchising. Lastly, we have business growth. Offerings focusing on clients who wants to grow their business and expand nationally and internationally. Assistance provided will be the business systems development, cooperative support, and growth strategies. CITFA offers a helping hand through business consulting. We provide comprehensive support to build and sustain competitive small enterprises. Our services focuses on promoting entrepreneurship, creating an enabling environment, and ensuring equitable access to resources. We are committed to fostering the development of MSMEs through a well-rounded approach that integrates both financial and non-financial support. Our aim is to address the unique challenges business faces, providing tools and resources that ensure sustainable growth and success. Whether through business assessment, technology upgrades, or financial solutions, the organization offers customized services that guides business at every stage of their journey. When I say customized service, the business, the client, we call them clients, the business along with CITFA customized services or the assistance, the interventions comes through after the assessment has been done that guides us on what and how can we assist the business financially and non-financially. Because the assessment, we do the assessment to identify, evaluate, and assess the current business processes. When I mean the current business processes, I'm talking about all the elements involved in the business, be it like the human resource, operations, financials, and marketing, those elements. And then that's when we come up with recommendations on how can we best assist the businesses to enable the organization to deliver on its mandate. The following, but not limited to, the following various products and services are available to assist, the enterprises in various stages of their life cycle. Provision of information, business advice, business planning, marketing strategy, marketing materials such as business cards, brochures, signages, the website development, mentorship, process development, trade exhibition, including the incubation, not forgetting the product testing. These are the services that small enterprise development and finance agency are offerings to clients. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, McDonald. I appreciate that. I think we're going to move on now to our questions and answers. I'm going to try and see where the questions are. The first question I can see here says, what is the timeline to declaring BO after successfully registering a company? Sorry, I did notice our questions isn't really necessarily about today's topic, and we didn't speak much on BO because it is actually such a large topic that one should host a whole webinar just on that. CIPC does regularly host webinars regarding beneficial ownership. So anybody interested in more information, I would suggest that they follow CIPC on our Facebook page. They'll get notifications when we are going to be hosting a BO webinar. We will have another one soon. Basically, as Shani says, it should be declared immediately. It's actually within 10 business days of being registered. You have to submit your BO. And then whenever it changes, you also have to submit it again. And even if there were no changes, once a year, every business, that's companies and CCs, must submit their annual return, their beneficial ownership. Okay, let me just see. In any case, we'll go through the questions and answers that were typed as well, because we do have enough time, I think. There was a question, will this session be shared afterwards? Alicia Logan answered. She says, yes, it will. Please email lesegu@proudlysa.co.za for the presentation. So anybody wanting the presentation can send email to lesegu@proudlysa.co.za. Our next question was on how to reset my password. This is again referring to CIPC. The person says, I've sent a mail to reset password at cipc.co.za for assistance without any response. I've tried to phone, but the number is no longer active. Okay, I'm not sure which number you found. The reset password at cipc.co.za is the correct email address. And the call center number is 086 100 2472. I might just mention we get very high volumes of calls, so it could perhaps just be that there were too many calls, so I would suggest, if need be, that you call again or send another email to that address. Then also, okay, I don't think that was a question. Then somebody said, I had tried to use the BIS portal before, it does not allow me to log in. Has this issue been resolved? And Shani responded, she said, please try again to log in, as sometimes technology has its hiccups. To our knowledge, the BIS portal is functioning well. So as she said, please try again. You should be able to use it. And then there was a question that said, I registered my company last year, August. Will it be deregistered? We don't know when we'll deregister you, but as long as you comply with the requirements, you won't get deregistered. So you must submit your beneficial ownership information. As I said, please attend our webinars on BO, which will assist you. There's also step-by-step guides. I know it's quite complicated, the topic, which is why the guides are quite long and give a lot of additional information over and above information on the steps. Then, as there's somebody asked, are there CIPC staff to answer our pressing queries? Customers must understand that CIPC is really inundated with queries, especially on beneficial ownership, reinstatement, and deregistrations. So one waits in the queue, and it's unfortunate there are delays. I won't dispute that. And I'm very sorry that you have been waiting long. Our next question, if you need to update a director and issue date of green ID book doesn't allow you to proceed, but the director has no other ID, what else can be done to update or add the new director? Shani answered, she said the ID or green ID is not accepted. It means another ID was issued, hence blocked to the current ID book. What it will mean is, unfortunately, you will have to contact the Department of Home Affairs because our systems are linked with the Department of Home Affairs. And in other words, if you type in your issue date, the system would only accept it if it's the same as with Home Affairs. So I'm not sure whether you've got a newer, a card, in other words, no longer the book, that it could be that you're using the old book instead of your new card. That could be a reason. But if it's not that, then I would suggest that you visit your Home Affairs and ask them to check for you and make sure everything is correct on their side. The next person asked, sorry, my screen is jumping a bit here. Is there still a backlog in terms of reinstatements? What is the general turnaround time? Yes, there are some backlogs, and Shani said the turnaround time is 20 working days, and it's due to current backlogs in the reinstatements. So yes, unfortunately, because of 700,000 that were deregistered, there's many people wanting to reinstate. There are some long delays. Then the next one, I've answered the one on declaring BO after successful registration. There's also one that says CIPC inquiries has not worked for months. Changes to directors will not go through. Shani said that CIPC has email addresses available on the website for you to send your email to the relevant department. Director changes emails can be sent to Thomas Lebete at tlebete, that's TLEBETE bete@cipc.coza. I'll repeat it. It's T for Thomas, L for Lebete, then EBETE at cipc.co.za. There is a notice on the website with all the addresses if you could not make out what I just tried to spell. I also want to make you aware next week, probably Wednesday, we are going to have another webinar on director changes, and the plan is to have a demo of a director amendments system. So you are welcome to join us for that. So please, if you haven't followed us on Facebook, please do so, that you can get the notice and attend the webinar. Okay, a person here asked, please advise how much is it to register a trademark? Which form should I fill out? Okay, the trademarks depends on the category they fall in, Shani says. So you must please visit the CIPC website, and then you can get information on intellectual property, specifically trademarks there. And if you need an email, I haven't got the email, but you could probably send it to the senior manager, Florette Coetzee. So she's F Coetzee, which is COETZEE at cipc.za. Then she can also refer you. Okay, there's another question on BO. It says, Shani, please also clarify BO for NPCs. Is there documentation specific to NPCs that could be shared with our boards? The guidelines does not provide adequate explanation. So Shani said it is the same documentation as for company. If you are still struggling, please email beneficial ownership inquiries at beneficial ownership ENQ. So no spaces, no dots, one word, beneficial ownership ENQ at cipc.co.za. I also just want to, I keep on repeating it, but ask that you also check our Facebook. We regularly have BOs. There are some some webinars available that you can go and look at, and there is references to non-profit companies on our webinars. So please have a look at that. And then lastly, will there be a recording of a webinar available? We are having a power outage problem, and I would love to see this without any interruptions. So this recording should remain available on the Proudly SA social media platforms. So you are welcome to visit those platforms. I just want to make sure there's no others that I've left out. Okay, there's some comments, but it's not a question. Shani, perhaps you can assist us with this one on, I think it means reinstatements. They say, can you kindly share the steps for customs? It says registrations online.
I did see that question. I didn't know whether it was.
Customs number. It's actually confusing, Beverly. I'm not sure what you're referring to, unfortunately. So yes, I'm sorry about that. We can't answer that one. There's another one, Shani, with reinstatements. We are supposed to have 30 working days to lodge annual returns. Is that correct?
Yes, Alma, it is correct. From the date
Okay.
of your company has been reinstated, you have 30 days to lodge your annual returns. So it has to be within the 30 working days.
Okay. Thank you very much. Let's just see this one. I've tried to retrieve central database number. I did not succeed. The portal do indicate that the company is registered on SCD. Can you please assist in this regard? Unfortunately, the central database is with the National Treasury. So CIPC does not have access to it, and therefore we won't be able to assist you. The one thing I must make attendees aware of, in the past, you could register on a central database of government if you were registered with CIPC, but now you must also submit your annual returns and beneficial ownership. If you haven't done so, it's not up to date. You won't be able to register on the central database. So therefore, once again, the information is very, very important that you keep your business up to date with regard to annual returns and submissions of beneficial ownership. So I don't know if that might have something to do with it, but as I said, you will have to contact the National Treasury regarding that number. Okay. This is again a question with a very long answer. It says, could you please clarify the difference between non-affected companies with no beneficial ownership versus non-affected companies with beneficial ownership? So for that one, I want to again suggest that you look at our recent webinars on BO, because there were definitely webinars which explained all this information in depth. So I'm sorry if I'm not answering you immediately or today, because as I say, I think one must see it in front of you as well when somebody presents it, because there are definite information to take note of, and it's not the easiest of topics, far from it. We're totally aware of that. It is problematic for everybody because it's still very new. So please go and check our webinars, and we are also planning to have separate webinars on each of the categories of companies. So one on affected companies, one on non-affected companies with beneficial ownership, and one on non-affected companies without beneficial ownership. It will be in the near future, so please follow us once again on Facebook. Okay, there's also a question, when will the upload documents function or documents option be functional? Okay, I'm not sure, CIPC, what you're referring to, because we've got many different systems, many different types of applications, and not all require uploads of documents. So sorry if I can't answer you. I would suggest that if you have a problem, you check our website notice for the email necessary address for the specific application, and that you contact that unit to respond to it. Then, while an entity is in reinstatement, there is an issue with the annual return fee pre-populated by CIPC. How does a null turnover attract a 450 plus penalty fee? Okay, I don't know, because if you have a null turnover, I think the normal fee is 150 Rand, and then there'll be the penalty fee. So with that one as well, I would suggest you send an email to the annual return unit to assist you with why it's not correct. It could perhaps be that you have more than 1 year that is outstanding and that let's say 3 years and it's added up to 450, because you're not only paying for the last year, you're paying for all the years that are outstanding. So if that's not the case, please send your email to the annual return unit. As I said, the notice with the addresses are available on our website. Okay, and then the last question was, can NPCs register for VAT in order to comply? Natasha, unfortunately, I think you're now referring to something that has to do with SARS. So the best would be is if you contact SARS and speak to SARS about the possibility of whether you can register for VAT or not if you have a non-profit company. I think I've gone through all the questions. I hope I've done so because the numbers keep changing here. Somebody asked here, where can I get access to webinars on BO submission? There are some on the CIPC website under webinars that posted as podcasts, but I think the latest ones we only keep on like Facebook and YouTube because they broadcast live on Facebook and YouTube, meaning that the copies of those or the recordings of those webinars remain on Facebook and YouTube, so you can find it there. But as I've said many times this afternoon, you're also welcome to join us for any new BO webinars. I know there's a lot of repeats in our webinars on BO for the simple reason that there are literally thousands and thousands of people who have not even heard of beneficial ownership and catch up over time and then have to join. And for anybody not yet understanding, they're welcome to join as well. With that, I think we've come to the end of our webinar. In conclusion, complying with the legal requirements for businesses in South Africa is essential for long-term success. Since compliance is a continuous responsibility, staying informed about legislative updates is vital. Companies that prioritize legal and ethical conduct contribute positively to the country's economic development. We have come to the end, as I said. I trust that the information that was shared is of value and you will be able to make use of it. I want to thank everybody that attended our webinar. We very much appreciate your time, as well as our presenters today, Shani, Alicia, and McDonald. Thank you very much. And also for our assistants from Proudly South African that made most of the arrangements for today. Thank you very much. And may you have a great day further. Goodbye.